Today, we will once again take a look at interesting footage that captures a moment: how Ukrainian FPV drones wipe out entire Russian infantry column near Avdiivka. Footage showing Russian soldiers being targeted drones FPV Ukraine troops while they are riding on top of an armored vehicle highlights a daily occurrence that has driven Russia's death rate way up, according to a U.S. veteran serving in Ukraine. The video was shared by Ukraine's Strike Drones Company, part of Ukraine's 47th Mechanized Brigade, and it video shows about a dozen Russian soldiers riding on top of a fast-moving armored vehicle that has smoke pouring out from it. As it slows to a stop behind another vehicle, the soldiers all rush to jump off as shells are seen exploding around them, and the attack then increases. However, some of the troops appear to be directly hit, some lie unmoving, and it is unclear if they are waiting, injured or killed. Bradley IFV of the 47th Brigade as well as FPV drones attack and destroy Russian assault group on the Avdiivka front, and the Strike Drones Company said the soldiers involved were trying to storm Ukrainian positions but were defeated before they reached their targets. Ryan O'Leary, a U.S. veteran in Ukraine, described what happened in the video as a daily occurrence, 30 to 45 minutes apart for over a month straight, and he also said that this had driven up Russia's death toll. Which is why when people say 10 amount of Russians have been killed, don't actually understand anything. Hundreds of Russians were sent to their deaths before more elite were sent in, he added. While O'Leary is part of the Chosen Company, a group of international volunteer fighters supporting Ukraine's fight back against Russia. He's a 10-year U.S. Army National Guard veteran and did tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, according to Politico, and O'Leary said his unit had a machine gunner who literally sat there and schwacked a platoon element as they dismounted over and over again. Russia does not publish its casualty figures, and only estimates are available for Russian losses in Ukraine. The UK Ministry of Defense said over the weekend that Russia had likely seen 355,000 personnel killed or wounded since it launched its full-scale invasion in February 2022. It also said that Russia's daily casualties in February were the highest since the invasion began, at an average of 983 a day. Russia has been accused by its own soldiers, also by Ukraine, and by Western intelligence of treating its own troops as disposable, and of using meat grinder tactics to advance. Ukrainian soldiers said that the Russians were inconsistent in their training and combat abilities during their capture of Avdiivka in February, which war experts suggest is telling about their tactics. Members of Ukraine's military told media that a quarter of Russia's troops seemed just confused, and that the army's equipment lined up with the varying skill levels. There were some with little more than uniforms and basic rifles, while others had more advanced equipment, relying on descriptions from Shved, a Ukrainian marksman who said the Russians weren't really consistent. Another soldier observed that at one point, the Russians were sending waves of inexperienced, older soldiers with minimal equipment to fight at least 3 times a day, every day. Schultz, a soldier in Ukraine's 3rd Assault Brigade, also detailed how the Russians were coming in waves during their takeover, and the Russians were trying to storm our positions, wave after wave after wave, he said. The White House called attention to this human wave tactic in October, when Russia began its renewed offensive, with a National Security Council spokesman saying Russia was again throwing masses of poorly trained soldiers right into the battlefield without proper equipment. But there are also experienced forces in the mix, and experts at the Institute for the Study of War said that Russia's strategy likely consisted of sending out alternating waves of trained and untrained forces to attack Avdiivka. Russian forces likely used poorly trained personnel to carry out mass daily attacks on Ukrainian positions and employed trained personnel with better equipment to assault specific positions after exhausting Ukrainian forces, they said. This strategy implies that Russia may be trying to adapt to ground attacks and prevent rapid attrition of better trained units and formations. ISW experts say it's also possible that Russia used storm units, penal units made up of convicts, in Avdiivka. Russia has deployed convict units throughout the war, both as part of the Wagner mercenary group and as part of its Storm Z units. Given that these convicts are poorly trained for battle, experts have also noted they are usually ineffective, and these units provide marginal combat power. Waves can nonetheless strain the defenders. ISW, citing commander of the 2nd Assault Battalion of the 3rd Brigade Mykola Zinkevich's recent interview with a Ukrainian outlet, noted that Russia would send 20 to 30 people to hit a single position, which is more than they did in the Bakhmut meat grinder. Meanwhile, Russian forces suffered an average of 983 casualties per day in Ukraine in February, marking a new record, the highest since the war began, the UK Ministry of Defence, MOD, said in an intelligence update on Sunday. The UK department said the increase in casualties, which included both killed and wounded soldiers, was likely due to Russia's commitment to mass and attritional warfare. In February, Russia finally captured the embattled Ukrainian town of Avdiivka, which sits just north of Donetsk in eastern Ukraine. War analysts have noted that Russia's tactics to take Avdiivka often involved human wave assaults, attempting to overwhelm Ukrainian positions with large numbers of Russian soldiers on foot, assault after assault, non-stop, he said. The UK department said that Russia's tactics were costly in terms of human life, but it noted that they had increased pressure on Ukrainian positions on the front lines. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has previously suggested that Russian commanders do not value the lives of their men and that they conscript corpses. However, Russia has likely had 400,000 personnel killed and wounded during the war, the MOD noted.